From the WATE.com Digital Center, answering your legal questions, this is Ask Isaacs. Now, here's Lori Tucker and attorney Greg Isaacs.
Hi everyone, how you doing today? Lori Tucker along with our legal analyst Greg Isaacs. Good to see you.
Lori, it's a pleasure to be here.
We have another issue to talk about, a hot button issue, Tennessee
do.
Legislature's Transgender School Athletics Bill. We brought you in to discuss this because we're wondering about the Constitution and this issue. But let's bring you up to date on exactly what's going on. State Senate passed a bill Monday to prohibit transgender middle and high school athletes from taking part in sports based on their gender identity. And now those who are for and against are certainly speaking out in a very big way. So Greg, where does this fall within constitutional rights?
Lori, this bill is a lightning rod. It requires high school students to play their birth gender, and it focuses on the fact that transgender females, that's a birth male that has undergone a transformation, creates an unfair competitive advantage in high school sports. That could lead to scholarships being denied, a competitive advantage or disadvantage, how you looked at it. But Lori, the courts are signaling that this bill may be unconstitutional. The Sixth Circuit recently under Title IX, that's the federal legislation that governs students, said that transgender students are protected and that if you violate their constitutional rights under equal protection. Now that's interesting, isn't it? You change your birth gender and you create a constitutional right. Now think about that. So it's a right you weren't born with, but now you have created an equal protection issue. Also recently in Bostick versus Clayton County, Georgia, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled on this issue regarding discrimination and transgender being a protected class. And I think that Herbert Slatery, our Attorney General, knows that the constitutional train is coming. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it may be litigation. He has asked for $400,000 to be earmarked to defend this bill when it passes. And that also tells me they're pretty confident they got the votes.
This is interesting. I just got word the ACLU says Tennessee's transgender sports bill is the same as the Idaho law, which was struck down by a federal judge. So I wonder if that means that that's what's going to happen with Tennessee.
Well, you know, recently we've seen these states don't care what the other states do. We've had states suing each other. Tennessee joined Texas in a lawsuit regarding the election certification process or vote counting. So who knows? But again, Lori, one, if you're that transgender student, my heart goes out to you.
You just want to play.
You just want to play.
Yeah.
And now what I think is fundamentally unfair is there's this perception that these transgender athletes are just superhuman people waiting to win the gold medal, waiting to do this. Maybe it's just somebody that wants to be part of a team sport and fit
in the gender with which they identify.
And belong. And so
always wanted to play football.
Yeah.
Always wanted to be on.
Hey, great pass, Lori.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. High five. So you know, one thing when you look at equal protection and you look at the law, I think this bill may be a constitutional mistake, train wreck waiting to happen. But you know, let's focus on the student. But now then again, you're going to hear the other side of the argument. Well, my son or daughter feels uncomfortable because they're sitting there taking a shower.
They're in the locker room. They're in
with
their
somebody
restroom.
That their birth gender is different than that, and you can't have boys in the girls' locker room. The girls can't go in the boys' locker room. So you know, hey, you're pulling a fast one on us. So it's something that you can see both sides. But again, Lori, I think you need to, and I think what the courts are going to do is focus on the student.
One thing we haven't talked about yet, and I think this is really interesting, is how other sports organizations have dealt with this issue. The Olympics.
And you know, the Olympics, kind of interesting. They have had allowed transgender athletes to compete in affiliated sports since 2003. But here's how harsh the Olympics were. Until 2016, they required the way they phrase it, I want to make sure I use the correct terminology, sex reassignment surgery. So you couldn't just go in, take the hormone therapy, say, hey, I want to be a different gender for 4 years, I want to compete, get my gold medal.
Right.
Oops, now I
Yeah.
think I'm going to change my mind and go home and have babies. I'm not a transgender
Yeah.
male, I'm a female. So, I mean, pretty harsh standard. The NCAA likewise had tough standards. If you are a trans female, you had to undergo a year of your hormone therapy. So it's something they've looked at and they've analyzed. But this issue has been around for a while.
It has been, but I feel like more states are looking at it, taking a harder look at it, and Tennessee
and
certainly.
why is that, I wonder?
I wonder too. Hey, let's take a moment now and go back to those for and against in our own state legislature. We talked about actually State Representative Bruce Griffey. He's from District 75, and he's the one who says the bill is necessary to protect fairness and competition. We're also hearing from the ACLU. Let's listen.
These athletic events sometimes have financial rewards such as scholarships and college placements and other awards. And so is it really fair to all the women athletes to allow a biological male, even though they're taking hormones or whatever, they still have that, if they've gone through puberty, they still have that underlying biological advantage.
Trans youth identifying as either trans girl or trans boy should have the opportunity to compete and play sports on the team that they identify with.
All right, so once again, the House version of the bill still needs to be scheduled for a third and final vote by the full chamber. We are almost ready to wrap up, Greg, but let's leave people with this. Let's remind everybody about the Constitution, about this issue, and what may happen next.
What may happen next, if we look at recent decisions, we look at the Bostic case, where the U.S. Supreme Court said transgender status is a protected class under Title VII discrimination. Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is here, Kentucky, Ohio, said that transgender students are protected under equal protection under Title IX. So if you read the constitutional tea leaves, Lori, mandating that someone play their birth gender in high school athletics in Tennessee could be a constitutional violation. But, it looks like, with the Attorney General, Herbert Slatery, asking for $400,000, it's almost we want to challenge this issue and see what the courts are going to say. And I will tell you this not only will go to a federal court in the state of Tennessee, you're going to see this go to the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, and my prediction is Tennessee might be one of the first cases to make it to the U.S. Supreme Court on this issue that's going to be a matter of first impression.
All right, could be a landmark.
Could be.
Greg, thank you. And be sure to join us. Coming up tonight at 5:30, we're going to delve a little bit deeper into this issue as we talk further on the air. Thanks for being with us.
Lord, it's always a pleasure.